Hello and welcome to Financial Technology Frontiers Live. Friends, we are in for an insightful conversation in the area of global payments. And today, I'm delighted to introduce you to a very noted luminary in the area of payments. His name is Alain Raes. He is currently the co-founder of IPID and the Chief Commercial Officer. Alain, welcome to Financial Technology Frontiers Live.
Babu, thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Great, Alain. So let us know a little bit about your journey, okay? From a mega corporation like Swift to that of a startup working with youngsters.
It's a difficult question, right? Because especially for somebody like me who somewhere is entering more or less the last phase of his professional career, right? As you rightly said, actually, I'm a sort of a payment veteran. I've been working 31 years at Swift, so I know quite well what is actually about managing a large corporations like a global corporation like Swift, which operates in, it's as many as more than 200 countries in the world. It covers many different aspects of the financial industry, to moving, to your point, to a small firm, actually a firm that's been created only about a year ago, that is actually founded based on a certain number of excellent ideas that I just find really very much attractive. At the end of the day, the criteria for me to actually moving to IPID were twofold. One, it was about first the ideas that were actually supporting the development of the company. What is the mission of the company? What are we trying to fix? I mean, ultimately, managing company is all about people, right? And what I really found really amazing is that this, as you already said, these youngsters, right? People who are indeed much younger than I am, is quite refreshing as well. It's quite challenging, but very refreshing. And I'm sure that with all of that, with the people we have, we're going to be successful over time.
Wonderful. Thanks for that. So, Alain, thank you very much for sharing your experience in the entrepreneurial journey. You have been into the business of global payments for quite some time. You see a lot of sluggishness in the global payments. Can you just share me what are those areas where organizations in the space of global payment need to work strongly on?
Yes, it's actually the emergence and the creation of IPID actually came from essentially about some of those observations that I'd like to talk about. So if you look and I sort of rewind sort of the 20 years back, right, and look at what has been done in the payments industry to make it ultimately much more efficient, you could argue that there's been two main streams of investment. One that has been about how to make payments domestic or international faster and cheaper, right? And a lot has been done into this, right? A lot has been done in order to make, especially domestically, payments in a second, right? If you look at the emergence of real-time payment systems in the world, especially over the last 5 years, from Australia to Singapore to Europe to India, of course, is one of the fastest adopting country for that matter. A lot has been done from that point of view, right? And I would argue that domestically, even actually the industries have managed to connecting all the dots to make actually the experience of speed in domestic environment a lot better than it is today, right? So that's very clear. Making also cheaper it's been actually many aspects done as well. I mean, I used to be living in Singapore for 11 years until 6 years ago. Payments were delivered locally in 2 days, and you had to pay for something. Today, a payment is delivered domestically in a second, and you don't pay anything. So actually, they managed to come up actually to providing that sort of experience of a domestic payments that is actually literally for free. Europe has moved a long way into this as well.
Interesting perspective. I think you have put all your experience that you have gained over last 31 years into this particular question, trying to gauge what has been the difficulties and complexities in this world of global payments and the varying compliance in different parts of the world.
With the way that you see technology evolving over the last few years, right, that keeps accelerating, by the way, it's much more about how can you help people aligning their rules, their regulations, and all of this so that you can really you can fully benefit from the advantage of new technologies? That's the key question.
Absolutely. And banks per se or financial sector per se is very, very cautious about adopting any new technology because anything that is not broken need not be mended and let it go the same way, right? Now, let us come a little bit into the eureka moments of payment. Now, in India, for example, you have had the eureka moment of payment called as the UPI, which
Yes.
has empowered people to do payments in an instance.
Yeah.
And I think instant payment has become a reality even in North America today, or of course in Singapore and in Asian countries, it has never been a problem, or in China for that matter. But when you come to this dream of achieving instant global payments,
Yeah.
how far are we? Can we see it in our lifetime?
Well, it all depends actually, how old you are, right? You want to see in your lifetime. I'm coming back. I think, how can you make people, all parties involved into making this a reality, fully aligned, one around the objective? What are we trying to achieve? How do we want to do this? And more importantly, what do we need to do to fully align all the rules, regulation, practices that you have in each every countries, okay, to make this a reality, right? And that's gonna be a problem. On the top of that, also that many companies have that dream. If that alignment in between objectives, requirements, obstacles, and especially how to align rules, practices in between each and every countries, that could happen. What makes this really possible in a country like India with the UPI initiatives, right, is that somewhere, you had also the alignment in between the requirements and the objective to make this, real-time payments a reality, right? But also the alignment around the objective to increasing, inclusiveness. Do we have, for instance, in Europe, a systems like in India, where, you can pay through this unique, UPI-like systems?
Sure,
We don't have that. Do we have a mechanism in Europe for QR code interoperability that enables anybody to pay to another country within the European zone through a QR code? We don't have that.
Correct. The complications are immense. And of course,
Yeah.
you need to work on that complications to probably create that API integration for organizations to share the information and make it more secure, more compliant, and things like that. Wow, a lot of hard work to go into it.
Let's also not forget that, when we're saying technology permits everything, it's easy and all that, what you realize also, especially when you're moving from one country to another one, is that yet the level of expertise and knowledge and is not equal everywhere.
How are you trying to simplify the global payments using IPID as a platform, and what have you done actually to make this?
It's a little bit about what I talked about at the early stage of the discussions, Babu. What we found in our observation studies and all that is that, again, there is actually little interoperability in between data that are necessary of the payee to make payments, right? So IPID is not a company that is focusing on payments. Actually, our name is IPID, which stands for International Payments ID. Actually, we don't do payments at all, right? We are providing systems and a platform that we hope over time should be able to improving the client experience by precisely creating interoperability mechanism about the data of the payee, right?
Interesting. So you're creating a better transparency, better traceability, and an assurance to the payer that the payee is the right kind of person to whom the payment is going.
Especially the last one, right? And in order to achieving this, our prime focus for the time being is enabling this, right? Is creating this corridor into which we can validate or fetching those data, right? So we're busy creating a certain number of corridors to start with. And then once you can get access to the data in different countries, then you can enable the clients to start validating or fetching data depending on the service they want to use.
So with this unique service, how are you trying to fit into the existing ecosystem of payments? Okay. What kind of competitors you would see then at in the near future?
Well, let me first say something, right? I mean, it's not that don't worry. I think competition is always good, right? I mean, it's forcing you to try to be even better, right? And forcing you to learn about how to keep improving permanently, constantly. I mean, the service that you have. So I do welcome competition in that space, right? Two, I think we're fitting perfectly well into the payments ecosystems, right? I mean, you don't have today in the world a single player which is going to be able to do everything. That's not possible, right? I mean, I'm not sure actually. Eventually, if you have that, eventually you might achieve the dream that you were talking about, right? But that would mean a complete alignment of all the stars, you know, and the dots in the world of payments. And that's not happening anytime soon. I mean, you have many other actors into that ecosystems that will participate in a way or another to that customer's experience enhancement. We are just one of them.
Interesting. And of course, that is the flavor of being a fintech and trying to be an innovator in the market and trying to see how you can do things differently.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite an interesting area to get into. And
Yeah.
lastly, from an India standpoint, you
Yeah.
have been doing a lot of work.
Mhm.
So I want to know a little bit about how you are trying to promote yourself in an India and Asian geography. And later on, I also want to know what are you trying to do in the North American geography different.
Essentially, India is a very important market for us in both sides, inbound and outbound, right? Inbound because, as you know, this is the largest remittance corridors in the world. I mean, I think the numbers are quite staggering, right? I think we're talking about 65, 70 billion dollars, or even more than that, you know, flowing actually into the country every year from all the, you know, from the Indian diaspora that you have in many countries, all the foreign workers working in the Middle East, many other countries that are returning basically money into home country. So that is huge in that aspect as well. But at the same time, India is a huge exporter as well, right? A huge manufacturer. I mean, India is also one of those countries that you can call as being the world factory, right? So therefore, there's also a lot of flows, financial flows going in the other side of the equation as well, right? So we see the country as hugely important for us for all segments of payments. Therefore, we really approach the country very proactively since a few months, and we're happy to say that India will be one of the first corridor that we are going to open very soon. By the end of the month, normally we should get access to the country. Same thing as well. Obviously, I mean, United States is the largest economy of the world, right? I think it's, I don't know exactly what are the numbers, but I would guess this is also one of the inbound, outbound, one of the largest payments market in the world. So for us also, United States was very keen to it as well. So United States also will be one of the first corridor we're going to open by the end of the year, or beginning of 23. Because there as well, right? I mean, you have huge diasporas, international diaspora living in the United States. Many of those people are remitting money back home. And of course, I mean, all inbounds, flows to the US is also hugely important. So yes, I mean, it's a critical market for us, and we're happy to report that.
What kind of cooperation do you solicit from the regulators and from the governments in different countries to make this a success?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, we always want to make sure that, you know, we must be compliant any place where we do operate, right? But so the only thing we do is basically validating the quality of some data, right? So in that context, actually, regulations is a lot less tighter actually that it is for the payments, right? We're not regulated from that point of view, but obviously we want to make sure that when it comes to data privacy, flows of data, cross-border rules and all that, we can comply with, right? And we will comply with. So that's why we need to be fully aware of different rules and practices and regulations in different countries and make sure that we adapt to them. Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, we always want to make sure that, you know, we must be compliant any place where we do operate, right? But so the only thing we do is basically validating the quality of some data, right? So in that context, actually, regulations is a lot less tighter actually that it is for the payments, right? We're not regulated from that point of view, but obviously we want to make sure that when it comes to data privacy, flows of data across border rules and all that, we can comply with, right? And we will comply with. So that's why we need to be fully aware of different rules and practices and regulations in different countries and make sure that we adapt.
Fantastic. I think I will like to wish you all the luck and all the best wishes in exploring this new business potential and bringing out this innovation into the global payments market.
Thank you, Babu. We hope so. We hope so. Thank you.